Have you ever felt stuck, like no matter what you do, nothing seems to change? What if I told you there's a secret technique that could transform your entire life? It's not magic, and it doesn't require any special skills. In fact, it's something you've been doing all along without even realizing it. This powerful idea is called the law of assumption, and it was taught by a spiritual teacher named Neville Goddard. Today, we're going to unlock this secret and show you how it can revolutionize your world. Now you might be wondering, what's the big deal about this law of assumption? Well, let me put it this way. If you don't understand and use this law, you might keep spinning your wheels, trying to make your dreams come true, but never quite getting there. It's like having a superpower but not knowing how to use it. But here's the exciting part. If you learn to harness this law, you could change your life in ways you never thought possible. Want that dream job? A loving relationship? Financial freedom? The law of assumption could be your ticket to all of these and more. I'll be honest with you though, using the law of assumption isn't always a walk in the park. It requires you to look at yourself and your thoughts in a whole new way. Sometimes you might feel like you're fighting against everything you've been taught about how the world works. But let me tell you, the rewards are worth it. People who have mastered this law report, feeling more in control of their lives, achieving goals they once thought impossible, and experiencing a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. So, what exactly is this law of assumption? At its core, it's a simple but profound idea. What you believe about yourself and the world becomes your reality. It's like the universe is a giant mirror reflecting back to you whatever you assume to be true. If you assume you're not good enough, the world will show you evidence that confirms this belief. But if you assume you're capable and deserving of great things, your reality will shift to match that assumption. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have all the luck, things just seem to work out for them, and opportunities fall into their lap? According to the law of assumption, this isn't just random chance. These people might be unconsciously assuming that good things will happen to them, and so they do. On the flip side, if you're constantly worrying and assuming the worst, you might find that problems and obstacles keep popping up in your life. Now you might be thinking, come on, how can my thoughts change reality? But consider this. Your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your life. If you believe you're capable of achieving something, you're more likely to take steps towards that goal. You'll be more confident, more persistent, and more open to opportunities. On the other hand, if you believe something is impossible, you probably won't even try. In this way, your assumptions become self-fulfilling prophecies. Let's look at some real-life examples to make this clearer. Imagine two people applying for the same job. The first person assumes they're not qualified and probably won't get it. They go into the interview nervous and unsure, and their performance suffers as a result. The second person assumes they're the perfect fit for the job. They walk into the interview confident and enthusiastic, making a great impression. Who do you think is more likely to get the job or consider relationships? If you assume you're unlovable, you might push people away or settle for unhealthy relationships, reinforcing your belief. But if you assume you're worthy of love, you're more likely to open up to others and attract positive relationships into your life. Now, you might be wondering if there's any science to back this up. While the law of assumption itself isn't a scientific theory, there is research that supports the idea that our beliefs and expectations can shape our reality. Studies in psychology have shown that our beliefs can affect our behavior, our performance, and even our physical health. This is known as the expectancy effect or self-fulfilling prophecy in scientific terms. For example, in one famous study, Researchers told a group of hotel cleaners that their work was good exercise and met the Surgeon General's recommendations for an active lifestyle. Another group wasn't given this information. After 4 weeks, the group that believed their work was exercise showed significant improvements in their health, including weight loss and lower blood pressure, even though their actual behavior hadn't changed. Their belief that they were getting exercise led to real physical changes. So who was Neville Goddard, and how did he discover this law? Neville was a spiritual teacher who lived from 1905 to 1972. He was born in Barbados, but spent most of his life in the United States. Neville wasn't a scientist or a psychologist. Instead, he was a keen observer of human nature and his own experiences. He studied various spiritual and mystical traditions and eventually developed his own teachings, with the law of assumption at their core. What made Neville's teachings unique was his focus on the power of imagination. He didn't just talk about positive thinking or setting goals. Instead, he taught that our imagination is the creative force in our lives. He believed that if we could imagine and feel an experience vividly enough, it would inevitably come to pass in our physical reality. Neville's teachings were revolutionary for his time, and they continue to inspire people today. He gave lectures all over the United States, wrote numerous books, and had a dedicated following of students who reported remarkable changes in their lives after applying his techniques. At the heart of Neville's teaching was the idea that imagination creates reality. He taught that the world we see around us is a reflection of our inner assumptions and beliefs. If we want to change our lives, we need to change these inner assumptions first. This might sound simple, but it's a profound shift from how most of us are taught to think about the world. Most of us believe that we need to change our actions to change our lives. We think if we work harder, or learn new skills, or meet the right people, then we'll achieve our goals. But Neville taught that while action is important, it's not the most crucial factor. Instead, he said that if we change our inner world, our thoughts, beliefs, and most importantly, our assumptions about what's possible, our outer world will naturally change to match. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great in theory, but how does it work in practice? That's a great question, and it's where many people get stuck when they first learn about the law of assumption. The good news is that using this law is simpler than you might think. The first step is to become aware of your current assumptions. What do you believe about yourself and your life? Are you assuming that things are hard, that you're not good enough, that success is for other people, but not for you? Once you're aware of these assumptions, you can start to change them. Neville taught that the most powerful words in the English language are I am. Whatever follows I am is what you're assuming about yourself. So if you catch yourself thinking, I am not good at this, or I am always unlucky, you're reinforcing those negative assumptions. To use the law of assumption, start replacing these negative statements with positive ones. Instead of I am not good enough, try I am capable and confident. Instead of I am always broke, try I am financially secure and abundant. Now here's the tricky part. At first, these new statements might feel fake or uncomfortable. That's normal. Remember, you're challenging beliefs that you might have held for years or even decades. The key is to persist. Keep repeating these new assumptions until they start to feel natural. Another key technique that Neville taught was what he called living from the end. This means imagining that you've already achieved your desire and living as if it's already true. If you want a new job, imagine how you would feel and act if you already had that job. If you want a loving relationship, imagine how you would feel and behave if you were already in that relationship. The idea is that by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you align yourself with that reality. You start to think, feel, and act in ways that make that reality more likely to manifest. One of the biggest challenges in using the law of assumption is maintaining your new assumption even when your current reality seems to contradict it. This is where faith comes in. Neville taught that you need to have complete faith in your imaginal act, believing that it's real even if you can't see evidence of it yet. This can be tough, especially when you're first starting out. You might assume that you're financially abundant, but then look at your bank account and see it's still empty. The key is to persist in your assumption, knowing that your outer world takes time to catch up with your inner world. Neville often used the analogy of planting a seed. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust that if you've planted it and watered it, it will grow in its own time. The same is true with the law of assumption. Plant the seed of your new assumption, nurture it with your faith and persistence, and trust that it will manifest in due time. Now you might be wondering, does this mean I just sit around imagining things and they'll magically appear? Not quite. While Neville emphasized the power of imagination, he didn't dismiss the importance of action. The difference is in the motivation and feeling behind the action. When you're operating from your new assumption, you'll find yourself naturally inspired to take actions that align with your desire. These actions will feel easy and natural, not forced or stressful. You might suddenly get an idea for a new business or feel compelled to reach out to someone who ends up offering you a job opportunity. The key is to take inspired action, not action driven by fear or desperation. Trust your intuition and follow the opportunities that present themselves as you maintain your new assumption. It's important to acknowledge that using the law of assumption isn't always smooth sailing. You'll likely face doubts, fears, and setbacks along the way. This is completely normal and doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. When doubts arise, Neville recommended not fighting them or trying to push them away. Instead, simply observe them without judgment, and then gently return to your desired assumption. It's like training a puppy. When it wanders off, you don't get angry, you just gently guide it back where you want it to go. Remember, your old beliefs and assumptions have had years or decades to take root in your mind. It's natural that they'll try to reassert themselves. The key is to be patient and persistent, knowing that with time and practice, your new assumptions will become stronger and more natural. As you learn about the law of assumption, you might wonder about its ethical implications. If we can shape reality with our assumptions, does that mean we can control other people or make bad things happen to them? Neville was clear on this point. The law of assumption is about changing ourselves, not controlling others. We can assume the best for others and imagine positive outcomes for them, but we can't override their free will or force them to do things against their nature. Moreover, Neville taught that at the deepest level, we are all one. Harming others or assuming negative things for them ultimately harms ourselves. The most effective and ethical use of the law of assumption is to focus on our own growth and imagine the best for everyone. Harnessing the power of imagination. Neville Goddard often said that imagination is the key to unlocking the law of assumption. But what did he mean by this? It's not just about daydreaming or wishful thinking. Neville taught that our imagination is a powerful creative force, capable of shaping our reality in profound ways. Think about it. Everything in our man-made world started as an idea in someone's imagination. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're reading this on, even the buildings around you, all of these began as mental images before they became physical reality. Neville believed that this same principle applies to our personal lives and circumstances. When Neville talked about using imagination, he meant something very specific. He taught that we should use our imagination to create vivid sensory experiences of our desired reality. It's not enough to just think about what you want. You need to step into that reality in your mind, feeling it, seeing it, hearing it, even smelling and tasting it if relevant. For example, if you want a new job, don't just think, "I want a new job." Instead, imagine yourself sitting at your new desk, feeling the excitement of your first day. Imagine shaking hands with your new colleagues, the weight of your new ID badge, the satisfaction of completing your first project. The more real you can make it in your mind, the more powerful the effect. Neville often said, "Feeling is the secret." He meant that it's not just about visualizing, but about capturing the feeling of your desire fulfilled. How would you feel if your wish came true? Excited? Relieved? Confident? Grateful? Whatever that feeling is, that's what you want to capture in your imagination. This is important because our emotions are closely tied to our beliefs and assumptions. If you can genuinely feel as if your desire is already true, you're sending a powerful message to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. By feeling the reality of your desire, you're training your subconscious to accept it as true. Now that we understand the basics of the law of assumption and the role of imagination, let's talk about how to put this into practice. Here are some practical steps you can take to start using this law in your own life. The first step is to get clear on what you want. Be specific, but focus on the essence of your desire rather than the details. For example, instead of assuming you'll win the lottery, assume you're financially secure and abundant. This gives the universe more flexibility in how it brings your desire to you. Next, create a short, vivid scene that implies your desire has been fulfilled. This is what Neville called your imaginal act. It should be a scene that would naturally occur if your desire was already true. For example, if you want a promotion, you might imagine a colleague congratulating you on your new position. Now comes the crucial part. Enter your imaginal scene as if it's happening right now. Use all your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What are you feeling emotionally and physically? Make it as real and vivid as possible. Neville recommended doing this imaginal act right before sleep and upon waking when your mind is most receptive. Repeat your scene, feeling it as real, until it feels natural and you have a sense of satisfaction. During your day, try to maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Act as if your desire is already true. How would you think, feel, and behave if you already had what you want? As you start to practice the law of assumption, you'll likely face some challenges. Doubts may creep in, or you might get impatient when you don't see immediate results. This is completely normal and doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Remember, you're working against years or even decades of habitual thinking. It takes time to change your deeply held beliefs and assumptions. Be patient with yourself and persistent in your practice. When negative thoughts or doubts arise, don't fight them or feel guilty about them. Simply observe them without judgment, then gently return to your desired assumption. You might say to yourself, "That's an old thought pattern. I choose to focus on my new assumption instead." It can help to remind yourself that your current reality is the result of past thoughts and assumptions. What you're seeing now is old news. Your new assumptions are creating your future reality, which is on its way to you. Neville talked about something he called the bridge of incidents. This is the series of events that lead from your current reality to the fulfillment of your desire. Often, this bridge isn't what we expect. You might assume a new job and then face a series of setbacks or changes that don't seem to be leading where you want to go. The key is to trust the process. Keep your focus on your end goal, your assumption of wish fulfilled, and let the details work themselves out. Often, what seems like a setback is actually setting the stage for something better than you could have imagined. One of the most challenging aspects of using the law of assumption is maintaining faith while letting go of attachment to outcomes. It might seem paradoxical. How can you assume your desire is fulfilled while also letting go? The key is to focus on the essence of what you want rather than the specific form. Assume the feeling of financial abundance, for example, rather than fixating on a particular dollar amount. Trust that if you maintain the feeling and assumption of your wish fulfilled, it will manifest in the best possible way, which might be even better than what you initially imagined. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on your desire. It means trusting that once you've done your part, setting your assumption and feeling it real, the universe will take care of the how. Your job is to stay faithful to your assumption and be open to the ways your desire might manifest. Many people have reported remarkable results from applying the law of assumption. Here are a few examples to inspire you. A woman who had been struggling with her weight for years decided to assume that she was naturally slim and healthy. She started imagining herself looking in the mirror and feeling delighted with her reflection. Within months, she found herself naturally drawn to healthier foods and enjoying exercise, and the weight started to come off effortlessly. A man who had been job hunting for months with no success decided to assume he was already employed in his dream job. He imagined the feeling of satisfaction at the end of a productive workday. Within weeks, he received a call from a company he hadn't even applied to, offering him a position that was even better than what he had imagined. A single mother struggling to make ends meet began to assume financial abundance. She imagined feeling relaxed about money and being able to provide everything her children needed. Soon after, she received an unexpected promotion at work and also won a small lottery prize, dramatically improving her financial situation. These stories show that the law of assumption can work in all areas of life: health, relationships, career, finances, and more. The key is to choose an assumption that feels good to you, imagine it vividly, and persist in that assumption even when your current reality seems to contradict it. As you start working with the law of assumption, there are a few common pitfalls to watch out for. One of the biggest mistakes people make is constantly checking to see if their desire has manifested yet. This actually works against you because it comes from a place of lack and doubt. It's like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to see if it's growing. Instead, trust that your assumption is working behind the scenes. Your only job is to maintain your assumption and go about your day as if your desire is already fulfilled. Another common mistake is trying to figure out how your desire will come about. This often leads to limiting your possibilities and can create stress and doubt. Remember, the universe has infinite ways to bring about your desire, many of which you probably can't even imagine. Your job is to focus on the what, your desire, and the why, the feeling it gives you. Let the how take care of itself. Sometimes people give up too soon if they don't see immediate results. Remember, you're working with universal laws here. Things may take time to manifest in the physical world. Neville often said that the time it takes for a desire to manifest depends on how natural the desire feels to you. If it feels completely natural and you have no contradictory thoughts, it can happen very quickly. If it still feels a bit unbelievable, it might take longer. The key is to persist in your assumption, knowing that it will manifest in divine timing. One of the most crucial aspects of successfully applying the law of assumption is persistence. Neville Goddard often emphasized that we must persist in our assumption even when our senses deny it. This can be challenging, especially when we're first starting out, but it's essential for manifesting our desires. Think of it like learning a new skill. When you first start, it feels awkward and unnatural. You might make mistakes or feel like you're not making progress. But if you persist, eventually it becomes second nature. The same is true with the law of assumption. At first, your new assumptions might feel forced or fake. You might struggle to maintain them in the face of contradictory evidence. But if you persist, they will eventually feel natural and effortless. It's important to understand that setbacks are a normal part of the process. You might start assuming financial abundance, for example, and then face an unexpected bill or expense. This doesn't mean the law isn't working. In fact, these challenges often appear as part of the bridge of incidents leading to your desire. When setbacks occur, remind yourself that they are temporary and don't define your reality. Instead of getting discouraged, use them as an opportunity to strengthen your assumption. You might say to yourself, "This is just a passing circumstance. I know that I am financially abundant, and this situation is working out for my good." As you work with the law of assumption, you'll likely find that many of your desires are linked to your self-concept, your fundamental beliefs about who you are. Neville taught that changing your self-concept is one of the most powerful ways to change your life. For example, if you want to attract a loving relationship, it's not just about assuming you'll meet the right person. It's about assuming that you are the kind of person who naturally attracts loving relationships. If you want financial abundance, assume that you are the kind of person who is naturally abundant and successful. This shift in self-concept can have far-reaching effects, influencing not just one area of your life, but all areas. As you begin to see yourself differently, you'll find that the world responds to you differently as well. One of Neville's most powerful techniques was what he called living in the end. This means living your day-to-day life as if your desire has already been fulfilled. It's not just about visualizing or affirming, it's about embodying the person you would be if your desire was already true. If you're assuming a successful career, for example, how would that successful version of you approach their day? How would they carry themselves? What decisions would they make? By acting as if you're already living your desired reality, you align yourself with that reality and speed up its manifestation. This doesn't mean pretending or putting on an act. It's about genuinely shifting your mindset and emotions to match your desired state. As you do this consistently, you'll find that it becomes more and more natural, and your outer world will begin to reflect this inner change. Gratitude plays a crucial role in the law of assumption. When you're grateful, you're acknowledging that you already have what you desire. This aligns perfectly with the principle of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Practice feeling grateful for your desire as if it's already manifested. This not only strengthens your assumption, but also puts you in a positive emotional state that attracts more good things into your life. Moreover, being grateful for what you already have in your life can help you maintain a positive mindset, making it easier to persist in your new assumptions. It shifts your focus from lack to abundance, which is a key principle in manifesting your desires. One of Neville's most intriguing teachings was the concept of revision. He taught that we could actually change our past by reimagining it. While this might sound impossible, remember that from the perspective of the law of assumption, everything is happening in our consciousness. Revision involves taking a past event that bothers you and reimagining it the way you wish it had happened. You then assume that this new version is what actually occurred. This can be incredibly healing and can shift your energy and assumptions in powerful ways. For example, if you had a difficult childhood, you might revise specific memories to be more positive and loving. As you do this consistently, you may find that your relationship with your past changes, and this shift can have profound effects on your present and future. The beauty of the law of assumption is that it can be applied to any area of your life. Whether you want to improve your health, relationships, career, finances, or spiritual life, the principles remain the same. Choose your assumption, feel it as real, and persist in that assumption. Remember, you're not limited to working on just one area at a time. As you shift your overall self-concept to one of someone who is loved, successful, healthy, and abundant, you may find positive changes occurring in multiple areas of your life simultaneously. As you begin to see results from applying the law of assumption, you might feel inspired to share this knowledge with others. While this is a noble intention, it's important to remember that everyone is on their own journey. Not everyone will be ready or willing to embrace these concepts. The best way to share the law of assumption is often through your own example. As people see the positive changes in your life, they may naturally become curious and ask you about it. When sharing, focus on your own experiences rather than trying to convince others. Let them come to their own conclusions. The law of assumption is a powerful tool for transforming your life from the inside out. By understanding that your assumptions create your reality, you gain the ability to consciously shape your world. Remember, this isn't about forcing change through willpower or action alone. It's about changing your inner world, your thoughts, beliefs, and most importantly, your assumptions about what's possible. Choosing your desired assumption, using your imagination to make it feel real, persisting in your assumption even when circumstances seem to contradict it, living from the end, embodying the person you want to be, cultivating gratitude and a positive self-concept. Applying these principles consistently across all areas of your life. Remember, this is a practice. Like any skill, it takes time and patience to master. You may face doubts and setbacks along the way, but these are all part of the process. Trust in the law, persist in your assumptions, and remain open to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. As Neville Goddard often said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. By doing so, you align yourself with the reality you desire, and you open yourself up to a world of endless potential. Your imagination is the gateway to the life you've always dreamed of. Use it wisely, believe in the power of your assumptions, and watch as your world transforms before your eyes. The journey of applying the law of assumption is deeply personal and can be profoundly transformative. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about discovering who you truly are and what you're capable of. As you continue to explore and apply these principles, you may find that your greatest adventure is the one that takes place within your own consciousness. So are you ready to harness the power of your assumptions and create the life you've always dreamed of? The choice is yours, and the potential is limitless. Your new life is waiting for you. All you have to do is assume it into being.